Good afternoon. My name is Deb Van Dyke Reese, and I'm the director of the Nebraska Court Improvement Project. And I want to welcome you to our webinar that is a youth panel that is sharing lived experience. A couple of housekeeping items that I want to cover before we get started with the panel. First of all, we would ask that everyone turn off their cameras unless you are a presenter. Also, remember to mute yourself. Since we do have a large number of participants on the webinar, we want to prevent any feedback from happening. The other thing to let you know is that we are recording this webinar, and it will be available on the CIP website on our YouTube channel. This webinar is approved for 1 CLE for attorneys, and so if you are an attorney and would be requesting CLEs, please put your name and bar number in the chat so we can make note of that. Also, following the webinar, we will be sending out a questionnaire to all participants to help us shape further webinars on elevating the voices of lived experience experts. So now what I will do is turn over the webinar for further introductions to Judge Mike Burns. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Deb. I'm Judge Mike Burns. I'm a county judge with the 10th Judicial District in Nebraska. That's covering a good portion of South Central Nebraska, that judicial district. And my primary office is Hastings, Adams County. I've been a judge for almost 10 years. Among the things that I do as a judge, I'm currently serving on various committees and statewide commissions, which focus on child welfare and juvenile justice issues. This idea of working towards some type of education or information having to do with youth aging out of the child welfare and juvenile justice system started with me contacting Deb Van Dyke Reese probably a little over a year ago, or close to a year ago, and it came after I was talking with a couple of experienced attorneys following a guardianship hearing. It was a guardianship case that had arisen out of a pending juvenile case. And the question became, is there a packet, or are there resources that we could quickly identify as people serving the youth that was aging out, to give them direction, and also to confirm that we stakeholders working in that case were giving good and accurate information. And so the objective that I had identified at that point was trying to make sure that we would have or create some additional information and education to inform judges and attorneys, that we would be providing as accurate and as complete direction for youth as they age out, to make sure we were doing everything that we could before the youth aged out in a way that was consistent with creating the ability for the youth to be eligible for as many available services as possible. So when I contacted Deb, she said, well, let me look into this. And she put the wheels in motion, put together a couple of different meetings, and we identified that as kind of a three-step process in gaining some greater information and consistency. One was to create a bench card for judges and attorneys to make use of. A second step was to create a packet or materials for providing to youth who would be aging out. And then the third step was to educate both professionals and youth as to what is available and how that might be obtained. So last fall, we had a meeting. The bench card was developed, and that was, I think, distribution of the bench card started early this year. And then we also started discussing last fall the prospects of getting input from youth who have been a part of the system or who have aged out of the system, and get their input as to what was helpful, what wasn't helpful. So following that discussion, there was a survey that was generated, some information from youth who had been a part of the juvenile justice and or child welfare system was presented, and from those survey results, then there were some questions generated that are going to be posed to a panel of young people who have agreed to be a part of today's webinar. So our agenda for the webinar is going to be over the next 30 to 40 minutes, some youth panel discussion, and in a moment I have the privilege of introducing our facilitator and 3 panelists. And following that discussion, there will be about 15 or 20 minutes of a presentation from Sarah Riffle regarding the Connected Youth Initiative. So the panel that will be providing a bulk of the information as a part of today's webinar will be facilitated or moderated by Felipe Longoria. And the panelists will include Chance Mabin, Denise Doherty, and Nicole Abbott. A little bit of background regarding Felipe. He's 35 years old, lives in Lincoln, Nebraska, and has personally lived and experienced in the foster care system. He's been employed with Central Plains Center for Services for 10 years, currently serving as deputy director, and previously served as a PALS coach to foster youth. Felipe has a master's in educational administration from UNL and has been published for his work on foster youth. Our 3 panelists.
Audrey's still in. I was just going to say Audrey's still in court. That's why she's not with.
Okay, thank you. The 3 panelists include Chance Mabin. Chance is 18 years old, currently completing high school. Chance has been in care since he was 14. In that time, he has had 2 guardianships, one disrupted when he was 16, and he is currently in a guardianship. Chance participates on his high school golf team and plans to continue his education in mechanics after high school. Denise Doherty is 25 years old and was involved with the juvenile justice system until she was 18 when she aged out. Denise has a passion for helping youth involved with the system and would like to make a career of this work. The 3rd panelist is Nicole Abbott. Nicole is 21 years old and currently attending Bellevue University for criminal justice. Nicole grew up in foster care, aging out of foster care at 19. She won Miss Nebraska U.S. International and was selected to be Nebraska CASA Champion of 2021. Most recently, Nicole had the opportunity to model and walk the runway at the Kansas City Fashion Week. So thank you, Mr. Longoria and our 3 panelists, and I will turn it over to the panel.
All right, thank you, Judge Burns. I appreciate the introductions, and I'm just glad to be a part of this. I love giving the youth the opportunity to kind of share their voice, especially to such a big group of professionals that can kind of do something about what you all say. So I'm kind of glad, or I'm very glad to have Chance and Nicole join us. We have a series of questions that we're going to be asking 3 of them. They may not have the chance for each of them to answer the question, but we're going to try to see how much we can get through. So since this is a youth voice opportunity, and we think it's so important for young people to have their voice heard, our first question kind of centers on that. So Nicole, I'm going to start with you. Do you feel like you were given a voice in your case plan while you were in care? And can you also add if you felt like you were given a chance to have your voice heard in court hearings?
All right.
So Nicole may be experiencing some technical difficulties. Nicole?
Sorry, I had to change to my phone and I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself. Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Do you feel like you were given a voice in your case plan while you were in care? And did you feel like your voice was heard when you were in court proceedings?
Yes, so when I was in foster care, my judge was Judge Daniels. I always had the opportunity to attend court, and everyone on my case was very willing to transport me if I needed that. When I was in court, Judge Daniels and everyone in the room was really adamant about my time to talk, and I was able to tell him what I was going through or what I wanted. So my experience in the courtroom directly was always a very positive one.
Awesome, great. Chance, can you share a little bit about your experience and kind of if you had your voice heard? Well, since you're still in care, right?
Right. Yeah. So for the second, when I was in foster care the second time, I had more of a voice than I did the first time. Being that my judge would be okay with what I would tell him. But with everybody around me in my support system, they kept saying that what I wanted to do was nearly almost impossible.
Mm-hmm. And so, can you talk a little bit more about that? What do you mean, like being told that things were kind of impossible?
Meaning that at the time that I was put into foster care, I had already been taking care of myself for the most part, as an adult would, and I had told people that I wanted to be emancipated, and they just didn't think that it was possible, and so they said, "Don't waste the judge's time," and so that was the most part of not being heard. Yeah.
So I think it's good to know, like, even if it may not make the most sense for foster youth or young people to be emancipated at such a young age, it's really important to have them feel heard and to kind of feel like they kind of, or at least explain why that's not a possibility, because I'm guessing that wasn't something that was explained to you, Chance. But Chance, you mentioned kind of having changed placements more than one time. I'm guessing most young people in care experience change in homes more than once. This next question, Denise, I'm going to see if I'm going to get your perspective on it. Were you able to stay connected to your community while you were in care, such as your place of worship, friends, teachers, and coaches, particularly if you had to move placements?
I was placed a lot of places, and typically, no. When you're in placements and stuff like that, you typically can't reach out to nobody but your parents, and they don't want you to associate with nobody but like your in-house family and working through things with them and stuff like that.
Which I'm guessing was not how you would have had liked it to be.
Yeah, but that's how it be.
Nicole, can you share a little bit about your experience? Were you, if you moved between placements, were you able to stay connected with the people in your community, friends, family, teachers?
Yeah, so when I was in the system, I, for the most part, had connections and able to see family that was like approved or kind of in that sort. As far as friends, kind of in the system, like wanting to spend the night or go to a birthday party, it was always never really allowed, just because I think there was a time period where they needed background checks of the parents of the kid if you were going to spend the night somewhere. So as far as like, I know, approved family, it was easy, but kind of just being a normal teenager and wanting to go to a birthday party or spend the night somewhere, that was pretty difficult.
I'm guessing asking a friend for a background check is a little embarrassing or just kind of strange.
Yeah, I just told them I couldn't go.
Which kind of did that impact your ability to ask for other things?
Yeah, I think it was just more of, I guess I know there's always a fear of things that could happen or who people are, but it was more of just embarrassing as far as that. So, I mean, asking for different sort of things, no, not really. I just kind of just never really asked. If anyone asked me, I always just said I couldn't.
So not being able to stay connected with people in your community or friends, Chance, has that, I'm guessing that may, did you have a different experience, or did you have a similar experience?
I had a similar experience to that. There were times where I wanted to go be with my friends, and it was always up to the foster family, because my caseworker wasn't really into the case as much.
Okay, so you're a young adult and you're kind of not even able to kind of make decisions on even being able to spend time with friends, just some of those basic decisions that young people make. And those are all kind of part of how do you make decisions. And as you're nearing adulthood, there's always typically a plan that should be created for young people. They need to start making decisions on kind of what they plan to do as they're getting ready to age out and plan to be an adult. So if there isn't an opportunity for young people to even make simple decisions as to hang out with friends, Denise, this next question kind of leads into that. What plan, if any, was created for you as you neared adulthood? Can you speak on kind of what the plan was, how detailed it was, your involvement in that plan?
Really, when I aged out, there really wasn't a plan. They just gave me a house worker, and that was really it. She's been the biggest help in my life for the last 6, 7, 8 years. I've been out the system and stuff like. She's been helping me find resources and housing and all that, just because I faced a lot of barriers after aging out. So yeah.
So did you feel prepared to age out?
No.
Would you like to expand on that a little bit?
Like I didn't have nothing. Like I was placed just out in the streets to fend for my own, to do everything my own. Like I didn't even have an ID, a social. Like I had to go out there and literally figure out what everything I needed to do. I didn't know how to do applications, fill out housing forms, just a lot of stuff like I had to learn on my own that I felt like the system should have showed me or, told me about. Like just all types of stuff should have been in place before letting me just go. And it wasn't. And yeah.
Denise, were you in a placement a pretty long time, or did you bounce around from different placements? Because I'm guessing if you weren't at a place for long enough, did that impact your ability to connect and get help to learn those particular things?
I was in a lot of placements and I was placed at a lot of places too. So it was kind of hard, but like I've been to Geneva, Boys Town, and them places, and even in their programs, they didn't have nothing like that in place to show you for when you leave that place. Like, what's your next step? Like, your next step is to be going home, but what is after home? What do you need to do? Go to school, find a job. Like, they don't help you do a resume. They didn't help you, take you to, you're just supposed to do everything on your own. And I feel like it should have been more help for me to be more successful. Like, yeah, you can tell me, but help show me, help guide me, not just tell me what I need to do and expect me to do it on my own.
So what did they focus on when you were in care? Now, I'll give an opportunity for Chance and Nicole to jump on that too. But Denise, if you want to
It was mainly mental health. I had a lot of anger problems. So that was more of their focus on my mental health than anything. So.
Okay. Nicole, your experience while you were in care, do you feel like you were able to have a plan that was that incorporated your voice that helped you age out? And if it wasn't, what was focused on as you were aging out?
So I decided to go to college after I aged out, so I was also assigned an independent living specialist, and I also got approved to do Bridges to Independence. So I was actually very much, I think, what's the word? think I was very much prepared to age out. My Bridges and Admits workers had, I had all my social cards, my IDs, my birth certificate. I kind of had the direct deposit for the Bridges Independence set up. I had filled out my scholarships. So that's why my biggest platform in pageantry, what I promote is just this exact thing, like aging out. And I think that going to college can really, I guess, fix those cracks, because you need a lot of that stuff to apply or to move in and go to the dorms and all that stuff. So yeah, I was pretty prepared, I would say.
So Bridge to Independence, for those that don't know, is this extended care for those young people who age out of the system at age 19 and continue to have some support through age 21. So are you saying that a lot of the supports that you got were after the age of 19 with your Bridge to Independence worker? Or what that helped, were you helped to prepare for that before age 19?
So you get Bridges and Independence when you age out. And at first, I spoke on another panel about Bridges and Independence, and I didn't know that a judge has to approve you on that. And then in order to be eligible, you also have to be either a full-time student or a full-time job. So yeah, a lot of my support actually came after I aged out, but that's just with scholarships I've earned for college. So I'd pretty honestly say if I didn't decide to go to college, I would probably be very lost as well.
And I do want to just give a clarification. I think Bridge to Independence is part-time. I don't know if it has to be a full-time, so there's some flexibility there.
Yeah.
I think it is great that that's an encouragement component. Chance, you're yet to be 19. You're about to enter adulthood. What's being focused as you plan to age out? What's the focus right now?
The focus right now is just getting through the finish of high school, seeing that I'm set up to be successful in college and moving forward towards college. Right now, we're just looking into being able to get a vehicle and help with that, with insurance and different things. And we have the palace worker helping me and some support at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not not as bad as Denise or Nicole. Right now, I am kind of a little bit behind on scholarships, and so I think that's my main focus right now.
So you are being talked to about the possibility of college and kind of what happens after 19, and like that's being discussed. Would you say that's being discussed enough?
Yes, it's kind of being discussed in this, and then it's also being discussed almost everywhere. High school, people coming from colleges to come tell you to come to their college, and even at home, just different plans.
Mm-hmm. Chance, do you feel you're about to enter adulthood here soon? Do you feel like you're prepared to transition into adulthood?
I feel like I could be more prepared than I am right now.
In what ways?
It's scary. Could you repeat that?
In what ways would you say you would like to be better prepared?
I think that being prepared financially is what I'm scared about. Seeing that my past has come to say that I'm very responsible with what I need to do. And as long as I'm focusing on that and moving forward, that I'll be fine.
So are you a little nervous for aging out for when you turn 19?
Yeah, I am. Like, it's kind of weird, and I think Nicole and Denise can agree with this. You think that you're gonna have it all planned out, even though you might not, and it doesn't go the way you expect. And I think that's mostly how some of the adulthood is.
So Denise, thinking back to when you aged out, when you were kind of put yourself back to age 18 or so, do you feel like you were prepared to age out into adulthood? Yeah, I think you're on mute still, just so you know.
No, I wasn't. It's just like I just feel like the hardest part was not having no more structure. Like you have structure for so long and someone telling you what to do and then you just thrown out into the street to just do for yourself and be for yourself. So you just do whatever you want to do and you young, so you just, want to do whatever.
When you aged out, it sounds like were you homeless when you aged out of care?
Yeah, I was homeless. Yeah, like me and my parents would get into it. So yeah, I wouldn't say I was homeless, but I was couch surfing, always sleeping at people's house, and where I go home for a little bit and then get into it and leave. Like it was just a lot.
And I know that may not be the experience for everybody, but the fact that anybody ages out of care and they don't have housing stability probably is a concern for a lot of the people on the call here. Nicole, thinking back, you went into Bridge to Independence. And quickly, Denise, was Bridge to Independence offered to you at the time?
No, I don't think they had it when I aged out.
Okay, so Nicole, you did get Bridge to Independence, and you were kind of talked about it as you were aging out. Did you feel you were prepared for adulthood, and did having that extra level of support from Bridge to Independence and the financial support that came along with it, did that help make you feel a bit more prepared as you turned to 19?
So this is kind of two parts. So I definitely felt very prepared knowing that I'd have income coming in for so long, but I was most definitely not prepared. I mean, it was like a kid in a candy store. I had like grown up never having money like that for myself, and I just really wasn't taught the importance of saving or budgeting. So a lot of that was quickly spent on not important things, and I didn't really save in the beginning. And so I think that I was prepared knowing that I had funds coming in, that I was going to be secure, but definitely not prepared as far as how to save that and budget that. So
whose responsibility would you say it is to teach or to help young people kind of preparing to age out to work on their finances or budget? Who would you say makes the most sense?
to me, it would. I mean, I know there's caseworkers, there's PALs, there's CASAs. I don't really know who, but I think there should be, I guess, one person that kind of takes on that role, or one mandatory, maybe class or an organization that specifies. That should be put in place for sure.
Have all three of you taken part in Opportunity Passport?
Yeah, I have. I have a little thing about what Nicole was talking about. Along with that, I think there definitely should be somebody to do that, but I also think that it'd be a whole team opportunity for PALs, caseworkers, and even the foster parents, because some foster parents can't budget as well, but they know some of budgeting and they can pass that knowledge on. Like right now, my foster parents or guardianship parents, they have been teaching me slowly, because I'm kind of pushing back against it, slowly to budget. And so to be able to plan out your costs and be able to put some money away to save for later, it is kind of nice to know that people are looking out for you.
And just for some context for some folks on the call, Opportunity Passport is a match savings program that young people with systems experience can kind of take part in. They can save some money, apply it to a match to different goals, whether that's education, transportation, or some other things. So I'm glad. Yep.
I just had something to add about that.
Go for it.
I would also say that I think that there's a difference. So I did Opportunity Passport with the car match, and I know there's like a class or two, and I think like a couple PowerPoints we watch. But I think there's a difference between like telling a kid to save and telling to kids to open an account or to do this. But I think there needs to be a little more in depth on like the actual financial, because there really wasn't much of that covered. I think because Opportunity Passport, there's so many different routes you can go, I think. So
Denise, would you say that, so you said that most of the emphasis when you were in care was focused on mental health. Does that mean that because so much effort was placed on there, other components of a young person's life other parts of what you needed to focus on, like budgetary, wasn't even focused on at all? Were you?
Yeah, it wasn't even a thought or any of that. Like, you know, nothing was basically taught to me when I was in the system that things I'm going to need into life right now, like learning how to write a money order, sign the lease, like none of that was installed in me. So as me aging out, having to do that all on my own, and or with the PALS worker I had to help show me how to do everything. Without her, I don't know probably where I would have been or what I would have done, because it's a different world. Like you have to learn it, and nobody to show you. You don't know how you're supposed to go about doing something, So I still rely on her with a lot of questions and stuff, and she just breaks it down and show me and tell me, and help me, go do the things that I need to get done too sometimes if she can.
So your PALS worker or independent living specialist was offered to you while you were
The
in.
judge did approve that, Stacy. You probably heard maybe from Kelly. So Kelly has to get.
Denise, so you had a PALS worker before you aged out, and you continue to get that support.
I had got her when I aged out, so when they aged me out, they sent her my way, and she found me.
So this goes to my next question. What services, opportunities were available to you once you aged out? And did professionals help you locate these, or did you have to learn of them on your own? So Denise, who helped you connect with an independent living specialist?
Well, my caseworker referred her before aging me out, and she told me that, and then she said somebody be contacting me, and that was it. And then from me having her, Lisa, she just showed me everything, like whatever I wanted to do and get done. She just found resources and helped me go apply and showed me how to do things and how to do it correctly and stuff like that.
So in that sense, do you feel like you had somebody to kind of help you connect with resources, and you had that level of support?
But that was through her. That's not through the state, and they're different corporations. So yeah, she went out her way to help me versus more than the state had done, I feel.
Okay. Yeah. Nicole, do you have any thing to add to what services and opportunities you've already talked about? Kind of opportunity passport, bridge to independence. You had a PALS worker as well. Do you feel that there's enough opportunities and services for young people who age out of the system, or do you think more needs to be done?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the poster child of every organization in foster care in Nebraska. So I have scholarships with ETV, Omaha for Boys. I did Opportunity Passport, CASA, Nebraska Appleseed, Nebraska Children's. I've kind of been involved in a lot of programs, and I think that there are programs for pretty much everything. I think it's just the fact that kids are slipping through the cracks or not finding out about these programs or not being assigned a worker or not being able to kind of have the same opportunities as other people. So
do these programs help you build personal connections with other people who aren't professionals?
What do you mean in that?
Well, because a lot of these programs are professionals, but part of kind of becoming an adult and aging out is having a support system. How do you feel your support system like changed when you turned 19? Was it smaller? Was it just as big? Was it bigger?
Yeah, so I have 3 distinct people who were involved with my care who are my biggest support systems today. So one was my guardian ad litem. She was the only person who was on my case from start to finish since I was 10 years old. I think she's actually in here, but she's now Judge Novak. So she's very supportive. And then my CASA worker, Stephanie Gardella, and then my Bridges Independence, her name is Brenda. So those are pretty much my only 3 support systems who I know I can call, I can count on, and that have really helped me. I will say though, it's kind of interesting because when you're in foster care, at least in my experience, it felt like all my support systems were adults, and I never really knew kids who were in foster care. I never really got to I don't know. So being a part of the Nebraska Children's Youth Advisory Board, I've met so many other youth who are in the system, and just being on this board, I enjoy meeting kids my age who knows.
Chance, you're connected. You have friends in school, and some of them are in foster care too. Do you anticipate still maintaining these relationships and other relationships that you have once you turn 19? You're obviously going to go into a guardianship, so that's a little bit more. That's a more consistent relationship that you can lean on. How are you anticipating your support system changing when you turn 19?
I don't see it changing that much, to be honest, because I've seen how it changes from moving from one foster home to another, and most of the same people still talk to me and make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. And with the foster care students that I know, I'm definitely going to keep supporting them and show them into the different programs that they're available to because they are in foster care or because of their situations. And really, it's not that much a change as it is over years, because the more that you age, the less people might talk to you, or the more people might talk to you. It just depends on your personality and your experiences and how you treat people.
Mm-hmm. Denise, you talk, and it seems like as you aged out, you didn't have a ton of support. Can you talk a little bit on how your support system changed from when you were in care to once you aged out?
It's just you just got a lot of people telling you what to do or what needs to be done, or you just have a lot of people in your face or in your business, and then once you turn 18, 19, they're gone. So you just you don't know what to do. You're so used to people telling you what to do, and now you don't have that. It kind of messes you up because you're so used to having that structure, and then you don't have it. So you just go wild, and that's what happens.
And I think, so Denise, you said some opportunities were not available when you were aging out of the system, and it seems like things, some programs have been adjusted and changed because Nicole seems to have a lot of supports in place. Chance is optimistic for when he ages out to have the same support in place. So I'm almost, from the sound of it, hopefully it's the experience of others that things have changed and things are going in the right direction. But we are getting close to time, and I have one last question that I want you all to kind of chime in on. So, and this because think of the audience, you have people from the legal system, you have people from the child welfare system, juvenile justice system. Kind of just from your perspective, what would you change for current youth in care to help prepare them for adulthood? So, Chance, I'll start with you.
To have more people involved, so they're more aware of what objects they might have in their way for being successful. I know it's not the same for everybody, and it's definitely not the same for me as it was Denise or Nicole. So depending on the situation, it would be having more, not more adults, but more of the caseworker being there knowing the foster care kid more, because when you're the foster kid in the home, you don't know who your caseworker is, and they come in only once or twice a month. If you're younger, you're not gonna know who that is. Or when you are a teenager, and like this Denise was saying, they come in, they tell you what to do, and then automatically they're all gone, and you don't know what to do. Is keep those relationships. So instead of not being there and looking at a kid as a number, have a relationship with the student and set up those support systems like how they need it. That's my little spiel.
No, I think that's good, and even sometimes maybe having case workers kind of define roles, so you know who's taking on certain specifics of the case to help you with particular things, and letting you know, I may not be as involved because of A, B, C, D, but just kind of communicating kind of their role and their involvements, maybe more. But from you wish there was a deeper connection between foster youth and their case managers. Is that what you're saying?
For sure. Yeah. If that means having more caseworkers with less cases on their hands, so they can have more relationships, that might be something that I think you might see more successful people come out of foster care than how they came into it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Nicole. I'll ask the question again. What would you change for current youth in care to help prepare them for adulthood?
So the statistics of youth aging out often are in jail, homeless, pregnant, addicted to drugs. Less than I think 3% go to college. These are all things that really happen in adulthood, I think. So I think there just needs to be more strength in being as far as programs in place for aging out youth, and just bettering these statistics and stereotypes, I guess.
So, how? Any idea how to go about that? I know that's a lot to ask.
No, I just think that there's a lot of programs, but I mean, a lot of them aren't mandatory, or some people don't know. I think there just needs to be one mandatory course, or maybe, I don't know, something in place.
So maybe better information about programs. I don't know if some young people would love the mandatory component, but just better knowledge and more marketing, if you will, for all the great resources that are available. So a young person can choose if that's something that they want to do. Would you say? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Denise, we'll end with you. What would you change for current youth in care to help prepare them for adulthood?
I would just say, just have stuff that can really benefit us during real life, because when you're in the system, and and the system in the state care is totally different than the real world, help prepare us to adapt to the real world and being in a community and getting ourselves to be normal, or try to live a normal life, than to have a structure life, And that's all I will say. Help prepare us for the real world and not just a fantasy or whatever.
I like that. Hey, yes, we're dealing with real people with real lives, and we gotta be real about what they're gonna experience and kind of help them transition.
Sugarcoat it, and don't just throw us to the wolves either.
Great advice. Well, we are at time. We are a little bit over, so I do apologize, but you all gave fantastic perspectives, and I just thank you for attending this and kind of sharing your voice. I think a lot of people are going to take a lot of great things away from this discussion. So bravo for joining the call. So Sarah, I believe this is going to transition over to you. So I'm just going to let you kind of take over from here.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Felipe, and thank you to the panelists. I'm never not amazed by your willingness to be so open and sharing. So thank you for that and your perspective. What I want to do now is actually talk a little bit about some of those services and supports that are available to and for young people. I'm going to share my screen here. Can everyone see that? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the.
Sarah, we can't see a screen yet.
No? Okay. Sorry.
There you go.
Now you can see the screen. Okay. Sorry, I'm not that familiar with WebEx as some other platforms. So we'll try that again. I wanted to talk today a little bit about the Connected Youth Initiative. So we heard the young people talk about, this sort of need for continued support and access to resources. And Nebraska is in a really unique position in which we have programming and support for young people up to age 26. One of our challenges is I don't know that everyone always knows that. So I think any opportunity we have to share that with professionals and with young people is a really good thing. So that's what I'm here to do today. Before I jump into sort of what those services are, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the history about how we got here, because some of you might be really familiar with Project Everlast. And some of you might be familiar with Connected Youth Initiative and not even really sort of knowing the journey that how we got to this point. So in 2007, Project Everlast was created in the Omaha area and really focused on young people in foster care, having some of that peer support that Nicole mentioned today on the panel. And then in 2009, in the Panhandle, so in the rural parts of Nebraska, the Supportive Services for Rural Homelessness Youth Initiative was implemented. And so for a long time, we operated both of those sort of models in the urban area and rural area. And then 2015, Nebraska Children and Families Foundation was awarded the Social Innovation Fund award. And that really allowed us the opportunity to sort of merge the two models into what's now known as the Connected Youth Initiative. I did not introduce myself at the beginning. I apologize. For those that I don't know, my name is Sarah Riffle, and I'm the Vice President of the Connected Youth Initiative at Nebraska Children and Families Foundation. So I've been really working in this space for about the last 7 years or so. So thinking about, what are those services and supports for young people, and what is the Connected Youth Initiative? There's sort of two pieces to CYI. There are services for unconnected youth, which I'm going to go into in a bit more detail in just a second. And then there's also some system support. So thinking about the older youth system in Nebraska and how do we sort of enhance and improve that system that might lead to better outcomes. This is done through a collective impact approach, and as well as through some core model components, which I have listed there. And the first 5 of these model components really are services for young people. So we have central navigation, which I'll go into more detail. There's support services funding, or some of you might be familiar with needs-based funding. It's the same thing. There's youth leadership, which has historically been the Project Everlast work. There's also youth chapters in addition to Project Everlast throughout the state. There's a coaching component, which is voluntary case management for young people up to age 26, which I'll go into more detail about. And then you heard on the panel today, many of the young people talking about Opportunity Passport and some of that financial education. That is a service available to young people. And then the 6th one there is really thinking about that system support, which I'll talk less about today, but just important to include in the full model. And this is really, all 6 of these components are really done through our guiding principles, which I mentioned: collective impact, youth voice is at the center of everything that we do. Young people are involved in program design. we do take a 2-generation approach. So we're not just thinking about young people, but also thinking about their children and future children. And then, of course, race equity and inclusion is at the center as well. I won't spend too much time here. This is just thinking about what is the goal of Connected Youth Initiative. I mentioned that there's individual level services for young people, and then at the population level, there is some systems change efforts as well. This would not be possible without the public-private partnership. So everything that the Connected Youth Initiative is done in partnership with Department of Health and Human Services and other systems partners, as well as the private investment from Nebraska Children. Okay, you might be wondering, who are unconnected youth? Who are we talking about that are eligible for this support? In Nebraska, the definition of unconnected youth are young people age 14 to 26 without permanent family connections and have any of the following lived experiences. So those that have experienced child welfare or foster care, juvenile justice or probation, are homeless or near homeless, or even at risk of homelessness, runaway, pregnant or parenting, and or survivors of human trafficking or exploitation. This is not an eligibility criteria. This is just a definition. At the end of the day, we want to serve young people. We want to connect them to resources. We're not overly concerned about them fitting into any specific box. We know that permanent connection to family is really objective, and that's okay. That can mean lots of different things. So this is really just a definition, but young people that sort of fit within this definition are eligible for all of the services that I've mentioned. I just have some exciting updates regarding Connected Youth Initiative. We did just recently wrap up a 4-year rigorous evaluation that did lead to a moderate level of evidence. So we know that in Nebraska, our sort of older youth aftercare system is evidence-based. Young people that participate in Connected Youth Initiative have some really positive outcomes that we found that you'll see there. Almost 4 times greater odds of having safe and stable housing, 2 times greater odds of having enough funds for expenses, 4 times more likely to have a savings account. And this next one is one that really touches my heart, but 13% improvement in perceived hope. So, young people thinking about their future and seeing hope and promise in that. And then kind of an unexpected outcome is we did find that 71% are lower odds of multiple ER visits. So young people are finding medical homes and accessing services that are available to them. Okay, there's a lot of words on this slide. I would not make any college professor proud in my presentation skills, but we'll share this information with you following this presentation. I just wanted to make sure you had the information. But these are the specific services that are available to young people that I mentioned in that unconnected youth definition. And I mentioned central navigation. This is really just that coordinated approach. Young people can tell their story one time, fill out one common referral form, and be connected to all of those services and supports. There are central navigators located across the state. I will show you that how to connect in just a moment. The support services funding, like I mentioned, is just emergency funding to meet basic needs. So a young person can apply for rental assistance, utility assistance. They need a computer for class. They can apply for funding if they have education or employment related costs. It's just really flexible funding to meet their needs. Youth leadership is really at the heart, and what started as Project Everlast. Those are those empowering opportunities for leadership and advocacy. This is youth driven, includes the Project Everlast youth councils, as well as youth chapters across the state that sort of have taken on their own identity and names. We mentioned the Opportunity Passport. You heard from the young people about that. This is a financial coaching program. It was created by Jim Casey Youth Opportunities Initiative promotes financial literacy, credit repair, wealth creation, and asset building. Young people can set a savings goal, save their own money towards that goal, participate in some financial education that you heard Nicole talk about. And then once they meet their savings goal, that is matched at either a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 rate. And then the young person can make their car purchase. We've had several young people in the last 2 years make a match for a down payment for a mortgage, which is really, really cool. They can also make a match for credit reduction as well. And then coaching is really sort of at the center of Connected Youth Initiative. This is really unique to Nebraska because we have designed a coaching system that's free floating. Young people don't have to be connected to any specific program. It's the young people are in the driver's seat. These are voluntary services. Young people can come in and out of services at their need or want up to age 26. It's really grounded in the relationships that they have with the coach. And you may not be aware, but the CYI coaching model, there's a lot of intentionality behind it. There's a lot of best practices that are sort of stacked, and coaches are cross-trained in several best practices that we now know are evidence, that the coaching model is evidence-based, thanks to our evaluation. And the CYI coaching component is the service delivery for a lot of other sort of strands of the older youth system. So CYI coaching is used in Nebraska Chafee and ETB programs. So you heard many of the young people talk about the PALS program. That is a part of CYI coaching. The coaching model is used for the LEAP post-secondary education and training pathways. So we have a robust system for on and off campus support for young people. We also utilize a 2-generation approach. So pregnant and parenting youth can access specific supports for them and their children, developmental supports, childcare, maternity leave savings programs, things like that. Of course, the Opportunity Passport program we've talked about. The CYI coaching model is used in the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Project and the Foster Youth to Independence vouchers. So if young people are receiving housing support through either of those strands, they also receive CYI coaching support. And then most recently, the Improving Outcomes for Youth Survivors of Human Trafficking, which is a new strand of the work to Nebraska this year. And the CYI coaches will be implementing the PAVE trafficking screening tool coming soon. So like I said, that's a lot of information, so I apologize for that. So how do young people access all of this support? CYI is part of Nebraska's broader community response system. And there are community collaboratives across the state, and central navigators are there to help children, youth, and families get connected to services. So our focus today is on young people, but many of you I know are working with families and younger children, and this community response central navigation system is available to them as well. What you see in the kind of the dots there, that's very small writing, but those are just an example of the supports and services that can be accessed through central navigation. So we talked a lot of, housing, rental assistance, mental health services, connection to childcare and quality childcare, those emergency funds through the support services funds. There's college prep, there's scholarships available to young people, employment and career exploration, and then of course the coaching. And there is coaching available for families as well as for young people. Again, a lot of text here. It's just a map to show you that central navigation is available in nearly every Nebraska county, and CYI services are available to youth in every county. Doesn't matter where they reside, they can be connected to this array of support. How do young people connect? There's a couple of different ways. We do have the Nebraska Help Chat. You'll see the 2 numbers here. They're the same service, just some folks in Western Nebraska are more comfortable texting the 308 number. You can text either one. Young people and professionals, anyone can use this chat line. If you text help, it will ask for your zip code and it will send you back the Central Navigator information. And in some zip codes, it will send you the link to that common referral form to fill out to receive supports and services. So that's the easiest way to connect. But there's really no wrong door. So a young person or their adult supporter can complete that common referral form on the website. The Central Navigator in their area then reaches out and does a warm connection to supports and services. Young people are often referred or self-referred to Central Plains Center for Services or the PALS program that you heard young people talk about. They might know who their local Central Navigator is and just connect directly, particularly in Omaha. So Project Everlast Omaha, as well as Project Everlast Lincoln at the hub, they are the Central Navigators in those areas. So a lot of young people just connect directly to them, and that's perfectly okay. And then our friends at DHHS and other systems partners often refer directly to Central Navigation or to the PALS program, and that's perfectly okay too. I won't spend too much time on this slide. This is just some of the systems impact work for all of you. If anybody wants to get involved, if anybody wants to join the conversation, you're all welcome and invited to have a seat at the table. We have a lot of state and national work groups. This is just a sampling of some that are sort of working towards improved systems for young people in Nebraska. Nebraska Children and Families Foundation provides a lot of training in the best practices that make up the CYI model. And so we either provide or invest in these trainings for the workforce. So if you're interested in any of these trainings, we can help facilitate, coordinate, and support that training. And then the third column there are the state and national leadership opportunities for young people. So there's lots of opportunities for young people to get involved, local advisory boards, national fellowship programs, and things like that. So that's just a sampling of how young people can use their leadership and advocacy skills as well. That's all I have. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, if you want to get involved, if I'd be happy to provide more information. I do have some handouts that in some way I think we can get out to the folks that are on this webinar as well. So thank you. Thank you for allowing me the space to present that information.
Great, thank you all. So this is the end of our webinar, or at least this one webinar. This I see will be a ongoing series for content that is related to young people that are aging out. But I really wanted to extend a very heartfelt thank you to Denise and Chance and Nicole and Philippa and Sarah and Judge Burns, and also Mandy Jurasek from CIP that was really instrumental in organizing this webinar. So as I added in the chat, we will be sending out a survey to get feedback on future webinar topics. There is a link to the bench card, Aging Out bench card in the chat. And also the CLE activity number is in the chat for those attorneys that need that. So I want to thank everybody for your attendance and have a great day. Thank you.